Do you know what truly ruins your peace after 60? It's not money. It's not your health. It's the same quiet, foolish habits you've carried for decades. The ones that keep you tired, worried, and lonelier than you ever imagined you'd feel at this stage of life. I used to think that as long as I stayed busy, stayed useful, life would stay comfortable. I raised 3 children, kept a home, stood beside Harold through 58 years of marriage. I believed that doing more was the same as living well. But after he passed and the house grew quiet, I began to understand something I wish I'd learned much sooner. After 60, comfort doesn't come from doing more. It comes from finally letting go of what's been draining your spirit for years. Today I want to share 7 foolish things I stopped doing. Things that were quietly stealing my peace. And why the 5th one might surprise you most. Because most people think it's a virtue. It isn't. Not when it costs you everything. Let's begin. The first mistake is holding on to unnecessary worries. Worry is like rust on an old garden gate. It doesn't break it all at once. It just eats away, slowly, quietly, until one morning you can't open it anymore. After everything I've lived through, raising children, burying a husband, facing my own health scares, you'd think worry would have less power over me. But for a long time it didn't. I would lie awake thinking about Michael's job, wondering if Anne was eating well, worrying whether Susan's marriage was holding together. I carried all of it, every night, as if my worry was the only thing keeping them safe. My neighbor Dorothy, who is 74 and sharp as ever, said something to me once that I've never forgotten. She said, "Elizabeth, worrying about your children at night doesn't protect them. It just robs you of sleep you can't get back." And she was right. You cannot control what happens tomorrow. But you can decide how much of today you give away to fear. When I began releasing worries that weren't mine to carry, something in my body softened. My shoulders dropped. My mornings felt slower, gentler, lighter. Worry gives nothing back. Letting go is not weakness. It is the hardest and wisest thing a woman can do. The second mistake is arguing to prove you're right. I'll be honest with you, I was stubborn. Harold would have laughed reading this because he knew it better than anyone. The older I got, the more I felt I'd earned the right to my opinion. And perhaps I had. But there is a long distance between having a right to your opinion and spending your energy defending it at every turn. Do you know how many evenings I spent in quiet tension with Anne over something that, looking back, meant almost nothing? How she arranged her kitchen, how she spoke to her children. Little things, magnified by my certainty that I knew better. I did not enjoy those evenings, neither did she. One afternoon she said to me, very gently, "Mom, I miss just sitting with you." That sentence changed something in me. I missed her laughter far more than I ever enjoyed being right. Being right never once added warmth to a room. Choosing kindness does, every time. The third mistake is living for your children instead of yourself. This one is tender, and I know it, because for most of my life, my children were my life. I don't regret that, but there is a point, and you'll know it when it comes, where continuing to sacrifice yourself for grown adults stops being love and starts being something else, something closer to fear. Fear of being unnecessary, fear of taking up space for yourself. After Harold passed, I filled the emptiness by being available to everyone, watching grandchildren, lending money, driving driving people to appointments. I was needed, and that felt like purpose. But underneath it, I was exhausted and quietly resentful, which shamed me, because who resents their own family? My friend Patricia's husband, Thomas, 71, told me once that he'd given his son so much, financially, emotionally, in time, and now rarely heard from him. He was bewildered by it. I understood completely. We give and give, thinking closeness is built through sacrifice, but it isn't. Closeness is built through presence, not martyrdom. When I started taking my morning walks again, tending to my little herb garden, calling old friends I hadn't spoken to in years, I became lighter, and my children, I noticed, seemed more at ease around me. When you live joyfully, you give your family something they cannot buy and could never ask for. Show them how to age with grace. That is the real gift. The fourth mistake is trusting everyone with your personal matters. After 60, your circle does grow smaller, and truly that is not a loss. That is clarity. But for a while I didn't see it that way. I spoke too freely about Harold's estate, about a disagreement I'd had with Michael, about my health. I thought sharing made me feel connected. What I didn't see was that not everyone listening was listening out of love. Some listened because my troubles were interesting to them, because they gave them something to carry back to someone else. I learned this the hard way, and I will not pretend otherwise. There is real wisdom in quiet living. You don't owe anyone an explanation of your choices, your money, your family, or your health. I think of my late friend Clara, who was 77 when she told me. I thought sharing my burdens would lighten them, but people just added their own weight to mine. She was one of the most private, dignified women I've ever known, and I admired her deeply for it. Protect your peace the way you protect your health, because some things, once spoken, cannot be taken back. Now, the fifth mistake, and this is the one I think catches most people off guard, is helping others at the cost of your own peace. People assume that generosity is always good, but there is a kind of giving that isn't generosity at all. It's self-abandonment dressed up as virtue. After 60, your energy is not what it was. That is simply true. And yet so many of us, I was one of them, continue stretching ourselves for people who have not asked themselves whether the cost to us is too high. My neighbor's husband, a kind man named Raymond, 76, used to fix things for the whole street. Gutters, fences, leaking taps. He was generous to a fault, and people took it as given. When he fell ill one winter, not one of those neighbors came by. Not one. That is not community. That is convenience wearing a friendly face. I had to learn, and it did not come easily, that saying no is not cruelty. It is honesty. It is self-respect. Every time you give more than you have, you take something from yourself that you needed. You have already given a lifetime of yourself to others. You have earned the quiet. You have earned the right to say, "Not today," and mean it without guilt. Help from a full heart, not from an empty one. The sixth mistake is comparing your life to others. Nothing dims gratitude faster than comparison. I have done it. Looked at someone else's life, at her family gatherings, at his health, at their children who seemed to visit every Sunday, and felt a small, cold shadow pass over my own contentment. But here is what I know now. You are never seeing the whole picture, not even close. My friend Vera, 79, once confessed that she'd spent years quietly envying me, my garden, my friendships, what she called my steadiness. I was astonished. I had spent some of those same years envying her large, noisy, lively family. We were both missing what was right in front of us. Every life carries battles no one photographs. Every smile holds something unseen behind it. When you stop measuring your life against another woman's highlight reel, you begin to see your own life clearly, rich with experience, full of quiet victories that no one else could fully understand. Gratitude is not naive. It is the most precise lens there is. And the seventh mistake, the one that breaks my heart a little, is ignoring your own happiness. I have watched women of my generation convince themselves that pleasure is for the young, that at a certain age, wanting things for yourself is somehow indulgent, that you should fold yourself down and wait quietly. I refuse that story. You have worked hard. You have survived things that younger generations cannot imagine. You have earned laughter and softness and small daily joys. A cup of tea in the morning sun, a book that makes you forget the time, a phone call with someone who genuinely delights in your voice. These things are not trivial. They are the substance of a life well lived. I think of a woman from my church group, Agnes, 81, who had given up embroidery because her eyesight wasn't what it used to be. She missed it terribly. I told her, Agnes, the stitches don't have to be perfect. You're not sewing for a competition. You're sewing because it makes you feel alive. She smiled at me. 3 weeks later, she showed me a small pillowcase she'd made, crooked, uneven, and completely beautiful. She said she'd forgotten how good it felt to make something with her hands. Don't wait for your happiness to be earned again. You already earned it. Life after 60 isn't the end of something. It is a different kind of living, quieter perhaps, but no less worthy of joy. If any of this has stirred something in you, I'd love to know what. Perhaps one of these 7 things touched a truth you recognize. Perhaps you've already let something go and felt the relief of it. Share it with me if you feel moved to. There is something so comforting about knowing we are not alone in these quiet struggles. Life at this age is meant to be lived with wisdom, not regret. Every morning you wake is another chance to carry a little less and feel a little more. Let go of what was never truly yours to hold. Stop proving yourself to people who stopped paying attention long ago. Choose peace, choose your health, choose the quiet satisfaction of a day well spent. Your age is not a subtraction. It is everything you've survived, everything you've learned, everything you've become. And when you begin removing the habits that no longer serve this chapter, this beautiful, hard-won chapter, you'll find that living well past 80 is not luck. It is the natural result of finally, truly choosing yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I mean that sincerely.